question. So that person would be appointed from the new second redistricting
Good question.
district? Well, I need to know for my own.
Yeah, I understand, and that's why we don't want to make a statement yet. The prosecutor has took an opinion on it, and he and I talked, and then we decided to talk again today, and that's, try to figure out, make sure we're doing it properly. I do believe that the first order of business is to notify the committees and let them know that they need to get a, position taken and have that done between now and August 22nd, whether 84 days before the election is, and have a candidate submitted to the county clerk to be put on the ballot. And we will certainly, as soon as we come with a definite direction on that. The question that may arise is, in the Kirkpatrick, I believe was the judge, ruled that Commissioner Vance, at the time of the last election, was actually living in Jefferson District, tax district, which constituted him being in the Duval, one of the 6 regional magisterial districts. And if with that means that that's District 1 now, that he would represent that. And Mr. Ramey is 2, and I'm sitting in 3. If it was interpreted differently, that with the new redistricting of 3 districts, Mr. Vance now clearly resides in the Laurel Hill tax district, meaning that he's also in magisterial district 2. So if it would be interpreted that he is the bona fide commissioner sitting now in District 2, then that could cloud things up as far as trying to decide how do you go about this. So we've had discussion with Secretary of State. I know Mr. Pugh has had discussions also, and the prosecutor, and basically I think the bottom line is whatever our prosecutor comes up with, that would be my recommendation that we do. But I would never want to go against the advice of my legal counsel. So I think that's where I'll sit at this moment. As soon as he and I come up on whatever his final decision is, then I'll certainly let the press and the committees know that immediately.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Charles, are you ruling out advertising for applications and interviews?
I think so on the short term.
Okay.
That seemed to be what I heard from Mr. Vance. He had no problem with that, and I was waiting to see what he had to say, because I hadn't got a chance to talk with him since I returned. But
And just for clarity, if the 2 commissioners are unable to agree,
then as I interpret the law, is that if we can't agree, then the committee would pick somebody for the short term as well as the long term.
True.
Is that what you think? That's how I see it.
And I guess my other question is, if the person you appoint for the 4-month period, would that person also be allowed to run in the fall?
I think they could.
Would that not go back to the same thing we were running into with the sheriff and how that would be an unfair advantage?
That was a commission decision. I don't know that even then, and I made that statement, that you can ever tell somebody they can't run for office based on some local decision. But we did ask the sheriff, consider not running. That was our ad for that, but I don't know if legally you can do that, and we haven't had any discussion as far as the commission about that. The short term, the 4 months or whatever that is, would have to be a Democrat, whereas the unexpired term is open for election.
Yes.
And I guess, again, where that person comes from is the key to this, and trying to figure out before we say, here's what we're going to do. And I think we need that before Commissioner Vance and I sit down and talk about the short term. I'd really like to know where we're headed.
And how many years is left with Mr. Ramey's term?
I think 4. He's holding it 4. I think that's what I remember too. The rest of this year plus 4.
Thank
Mr.
you very
President,
much.
Yes.
could I ask a question?
Sure.
That will be pertaining to a person who desired to be a independent, gather signatures and things.
That,
Until we establish the district it's gonna be in, and August the 1st is the deadline.
that's
for
true,
that.
true. And I expressed that with the Secretary of State's office, and their position is that it's a local call, and we should follow the advice of the prosecutor. Ten minutes ago. It's a local issue, and they ask us that we deal with it on the short-term thing, whatever, so. And the law.
So Mr. Rainey was elected out of a place, out of a district where he lived before, and now he's physically moved to another district? Or
No. We just changed the line. We had 6
Okay.
districts prior to the new census of 10, and basically took the Harts district where Mr. Rainey ran from and was elected from, and he still lives there. And combined that with Laurel Hill, which is on the Guyandotte River, and basically put that into one district, and that's District 2. And that would now include where Commissioner Vance lives and where Commissioner Rainey lives. And District 3, which is West Hamlin, basically, is where I live. And then District 1 is the Duval, Old Washington District, which goes all the way to Lincoln Line on the Kanawha River.
And statutorily, you have to have one person from each district?
Yes, no more than one, is what it said.
So this person would have to come from District 1 then, or?
Well, that's the issue, 'cause yeah, that's where we're at, and there's people who say, yeah, it should come from one, because now, really, we have Commissioner Vance living and representing District 2.
Right.
And, but in the judge's ruling a couple of years ago, a year and a half, whatever it was, he says Commissioner Vance, at the time he was elected, lived in the Duval district, which now is part of one.
Given that there's 7 days, there's only 7 days for an independent or a small party candidate to make their decision. How soon will you and Prosecutor Stevens be definitive?
I asked him to, after the day's meeting, that we get together and try to resolve something by tomorrow.
And is there some way the public will be notified of having an opportunity?
I think so, definitely. How we do that, I don't know. Maybe it's something similar to this, a press conference, or whatever, that try to get the message out there. And of course, depend on you heavily to help do that.
But you don't think you'll have that today then?
I don't think so, because he could. I mean,
The
I just.
prosecutor is a special prosecutor in Logan.
Yeah, I knew he told me he wouldn't be here today, but he might be back later this evening, so, he called me home, we discussed it in length yesterday evening, and, but he, as, at one point, when I talked with him, he was the opinion, and I do have a letter from him, basically giving an opinion, but actually we just talked and debated all these issues around. He said, give me a little more time, and we talked about time frame. And I said, well, what about tomorrow? He said, well, I gotta be in Logan, but maybe tomorrow afternoon. I'll be thinking about the whole time, but no later, than Thursday, so, excuse me. So I'm, with all those things, that's what we were concerned about, the time frame, because that's what Mr. Ramey is leading to, is, get out of the way so the process can work. And we certainly don't wanna impede that anyway. We don't wanna slow that down, because we would like to see the process work as it's to be. But there is a case about the county now, but anyway, pending before the Supreme Court on a similar issue. I don't think of the county, I forgot now, according to the Secretary of State's office. And that's another reason that you can do what you need to do down there in Lincoln based on the advice of your prosecutor. And it doesn't mean it's the only answer, but it's the only one right now, and that could be appealed to court, just like the one in
Commissioner McCann, may I ask a question? It should not have any drawback on the independent people who are wanting to file because that will be for the 4 years. What we're talking about is
Is
where
the-
the short-term person's gonna be serving from. So anybody
Yeah.
that wants to, file independently could go
Could-
ahead
anyway.
and file.
Yeah, what I think
Because that
Sean
will come
said,
from the Hearts,
it will definitely come out of two
right,
on the long term.
yes.
So the position in the fall has to come from District Two.
I believe so, because
I would
Mr.
think so,
Matthews
too.
is nominated as a Democrat candidate and Mr. Lovejoy is a Republican, so
Correct,
I don't
for
think
one.
that's a clouded issue, I don't believe,
Right.
in my opinion anyway.
Well, here's one possibility. So could Commissioner, from what I'm hearing, are you saying that Commissioner Vance, because of the recent redistricting, he's a sitting commissioner, could transfer over to Mr. Ramey's job because he technically now lives in the same district?
Would you repeat that again?
I know, it's kind of confusing.
Well, I was thinking something else. too.
Okay. Are you saying where Mr. Vance now has been redistricted back into District Two, and that is the position that is temporarily open? And I guess my question is, can a sitting commissioner that was elected for the Duval area, now resign that and move to District Two? Can Doc Vance be the replacement for Thomas Ramey, I guess is what I'm
Well,
trying to answer.
I would go back to the seven, anybody can file to run, I believe.
Mhm.
Now, whether they're eligible is another question, but that's somebody
Okay.
else's decision. But I would tell anyone that they have a right to petition and try to get the committee to put their name before the voters.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's, would fly in a court, I don't know, but I would say anybody has a right to do that.
Okay.
But the Commission's position as of today, as of 10:08 today, is that you are the sole Commissioner in District 3, Commissioner Vance is the sole Commissioner in District 2, going forward.
If you
No.
look at well,
Or is that from January? I mean, that's one of the...
under the, as I understand it, under the scenario that went through the primary election in May, that the new redistricting was in effect, 1, 2, 3 districts. And that guided us into what candidates could file and be eligible. Now, it's still not absolutely clear if something happens in the meantime, how you deal with it, because it doesn't spell it out anywhere. Nobody can find how that's exactly spelled out. So it's a matter of thinking, what is the logical, but also what is the legal aspects of how do you deal with this? And I think that's where the Secretary of State's office has got into it, and they've decided that it's a local issue. And
And I said this to Jackie yesterday, the logic of that is that Commissioner, if we accept the districts came into effect last fall, and you guys approved them, that is an admission that Commissioner Ramey and Vance unconstitutionally represented the same district for 16 months, or will have, until today. Now Jackie said yesterday it was up to a citizen to challenge that, nobody did, and it's probably moot now.
well, it is, and the same thing as Commissioner Vance, when the courts ruled that he was in Duval District, he and Commissioner Stowers served for 10 years
Yeah.
improperly.
And the same as say that was after the fact, so
Yeah,
it becomes
Yeah, it's moot.
irrelevant, I guess.
But it comes into all your thinking when you start thinking about this thing you don't think about at the time, but when you start trying to figure out what do you do next, we want to make the best decision we can, and not cloud it any worse. But it was my opinion that, in discussion, that the person that goes on the ballot, and no doubt, comes from District 2, in my opinion, and that in the replacement of Thomas Ramey, due to where Commissioner Vance lives, one might deduct that maybe that should come from the Old Hearts District. But that's not written anywhere,
Which is 1.
which is District 2. Hearts and Hearts, Laurel Hill is 2. The Guyandotte Riverside, basically high, look at it. And Coal River, Duval is District 1. Carroll, West Hamlin, District 2.
Three.
3.
Right. It's confusing.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to get used to. But as soon as we can agree upon what this is, right or wrong, we'll agree on our opinion. Somebody else may think it's wrong, of course we'll think it's right. and we will announce that with a press conference or something to benefit the public. And it could be later today, it could be in tomorrow, but no later than tomorrow, as far as I'm
Bob,
concerned.
if you and the other gentleman want to leave your cards on the
What are your personal feelings about getting that letter yesterday? I mean,
Well, my personal thoughts are we've lost a good serving commissioner. Mr. Ramey worked hard, extra hard. His heart was in the right place, trying to do what was good for Lincoln County. But you always, sitting in this position, or any elected position, you have to realize that there's rules to follow, and those things where you know or not know, you're held responsible for. So it's sad to see it happen, but at the same time, it's one of those things that he stepped up to the plate, realized that this was a thing to do based upon legal implications, and we just have to move forward as a county and move forward personally, whether it be he, I, or anybody else. I mean, just one of those things you got to do.
how important is it to find that right person in forward?
Well, I think it's very important in the long term. Short term, we can make things work if we could agree on somebody to appoint. But I think it's the consideration for me, and that's the only thing I can give, is that I would certainly like to see someone who has the interest of the county, but also the interest of that community that they particularly represent. But the county as a whole is important to me.
The Commission was fairly united in the spring in picking the Sheriff and the County Clerk interim people. Do you anticipate such unity?
I think so. I can't, of course, I have no way of determining that, but I'll make every effort, and I believe that Commissioner Banks would too, to reach a decision. I'm sure we'll have what we did before, said each person gives 3 names who you think might be, and I'm assuming he and I will do the same. You give me 2 or 3 names, I'll give you 2 or 3 names, see if we happen to hit the same name. If we do, we're home free. If not, then it's negotiation. Think of other names. Discard those, think of somebody else. But we'll work through it. I would rather see us be able to get someone in there immediately, but if not, I certainly wouldn't want to do anything that would hurt the commission. So we will make every effort, I will too, and I'm assuming that Mr. Banks will too, to resolve this in the short term and let the people decide in the long term with the election.
Do you have a few names in your head for short-term candidates?
I do not. At least I don't have any I would give you.
Without naming them.
Well, I certainly, on my way back from vacation, I started thinking about possibilities, and my focus was on the Hearts area only. But as I look at the legal thing, maybe you need to look bigger than that. But I did try to think of possibilities. And there's people out there that could do it, but there'll never be anybody out there that would do it like Mr. Ramey did, because that's just the way his style, whatever. But there'll be other people that can do it differently. I don't know about better, but different, and as good probably.
Mr. View, so the independent will, if there are independents that file to run in the fall, they will have until what date?
August the 1st.
August the 1st. And then our committees, the Republican and Democratic committees, candidates will have until what date to file? I think it's August, did you say?
The code book says the 20th,
20th, okay.
and if you can't come to a conclusion, then 2 days later, the head of the party, such as you,
Okay.
has the right to choose. So does Mr. Dempsey.
And then by August 22nd?
Right.
Okay. Gotcha. Just wanna clarify.
There's some of them says August the 14th, but it plainly states, the 20th and 22nd. I believe
That's my understanding.
Mr. Sean will agree to that, I believe. We've read it in the book.
Well, I
you know.
read it too, and that was my understanding, but I'll really kind
That's
of
the way I understand
by
it.
the rules.
That's why they have these lawyers, isn't it?
That's correct.
I do have one other thing I probably should have mentioned before, but also addressed to me from Mr. Ramey resignation from all boards as representative of Lincoln County Commission. Please accept this letter as my resignation from all boards that I sit on as a representative of Lincoln County Commission. And what we basically will do is just notify those boards that he has stepped down and that they need to come with some new names and some whatever, so, or we will. But just for information's sake. Anything else? We'll let you know as soon as we know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.